Listen, the banks are on the verge of collapse. Silicon Valley Bank is gone. Everybody's panicking. Everybody thinks we're going to have a repeat of 2008. So we have to act fast. We need to make a strategy and you need to follow me on this, okay? Let's focus now. Yeah. Financial crisis is tough, right? This is quite bad for everyone, right? Yo, focus, bro. Listen, I'm telling you now, we have to make money. What are you doing with that juice? What's wrong with you? No. I'm listening to you, bro. It's just I don't understand. Like, how do you drink this part over here if the straw is this big, right? Like how do you get this part of the juice from the bottle? I mean, I don't understand it. I'm done with you. I'm done with you. Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Dan and as always I'm bringing you weekly analysis of the stock market and crypto market, technical and fundamental, and this week we have a big happenings in the market. Now it's Sunday at the time when I'm recording this video, and by the time the video is out tomorrow there's gonna be already big news happening. As you already know, if you're following the markets, Silicon Valley Bank is in trouble, it's going bust, and the US Secretary Janet Yellen had some strong words for us on this Sunday evening. So stay tuned in throughout the video and I'm gonna go over everything, but as always we're gonna start with technical analysis for NASDAQ. So let's head to the PC and let's get right into it. So NASDAQ 100, as we can see on the weekly chart, that I predicted last week they were gonna go higher, however that didn't happen. Basically the macro news overruled everything technical, okay? And this is what's gonna happen even this week. So I'm going to go very slowly on this and I'm gonna tell you my opinion on what's gonna happen. We started the week nicely, we pumped up above all the levels, all the EMAs, and we came to somewhere around 12,500. However, then Powell had 2 days of speech on Tuesday and on Wednesday, and he had some strong words to say as always, so he was bearish and the market just collapsed. And on top of it, the banking sector or the Silicon Valley Bank crisis began on those days. So basically all that combined caused the market to just go down a lot, all right? So we ended up right over here on the 11,970, which is actually EMA 20 on a weekly chart for NASDAQ. What is going to happen next week when it comes to the technicals, we don't know. Like, literally we don't know. This kind of momentum to me says that we're gonna continue the bearish momentum, all right? But as I've told you, all the technicals are getting overridden by the macro environment, and everything now depends on a couple of reports that are going to come out, which you're going to talk about later, and what's going to happen with the banking sector and what's going to happen with the Fed and what they're going to say and the US Secretary, etc, etc. So we now are literally almost ignoring the technical analysis and waiting and looking at the macroeconomic happenings, because they always take over in this kind of situation. So, but let's say looking at purely at the technicals, if we don't hold obviously the EMA 20, if there's some further bad news, obviously we're gonna go lower and finally, as I've said many times, retest this 11,500 area. This should be our long-term area of support at the moment if we're about to keep up with the bullish momentum, right? And if we have some very bad news, and if the government lets regional banks go under as well and everything, then it's gonna be big trouble. However, we're gonna talk about it later. So the scenario one is of course to break this EMA 20 with some more bad news and go revisit 11,500, maybe even break it, fight around with it, and then we will see what's gonna happen depending again on the macro environments. So CPI and Fed interest rate decision. The bullish or the good scenario would be if they come up with some genius plan, maybe even mention something like we see that this is causing a lot of stress to the banks and maybe they even cut rates or stop or pause them, or I don't know. In that bullish scenario, we'll be seeing of course a total reversal, which is going to be again coming back to 12,300 and then of course going just forward to 12,700 and eventually going at 13,500. So the bullish scenario for the next week would be total reversal to probably somewhere back 12,500 area. At this point, I don't really want to guess, but we're gonna see what's going to happen. Let's just quickly zoom in on a daily chart to see if there's any indicators that are telling us something. On a daily chart, no, nothing. There's no signs from the indicator on a daily chart. 4-hour chart, I don't see anything here either. And on 1-hour chart, let's see. Yeah, we do have a bullish divergence on RSI. On MACD, not really a bullish divergence, so I wouldn't really trust it. It tells us, let's say from here, if we're gonna look at the bigger picture, this is a bullish divergence on both MACD and RSI. If you look at these two bottoms, all right, let me just mark them. It might give us some small signs of reversal in the area right over here. However, as I told you, all of this is not to be trusted in this environment. We don't know what's going to happen on Monday. We need to listen to the macro news first in this case scenario, because this is very, very important. If this gets ugly, things get ugly real fast. So to recap, let's go back on a weekly chart. For this week, NASDAQ, based purely on technicals, this looks again bearish to me. And I think that if we have some bad news, we're gonna revisit 11,500 and then see how this will react. But if we get some good news, maybe bailout from the government or some support or Fed cutting interest rates, then we're gonna see again retest of 12,500, then 12,700, and finally 13,500 in the next couple of weeks. Because if the good news come into the market, probably there's going to be a very strong bullish momentum. But if on the same note, if the bad news come into the market, it's going to be very bearish momentum for a while. Let's move on to Bitcoin. Of course, as always, Bitcoin follows the stock market. It's all almost the same. And Bitcoin as well looked bearish. I was really hoping we're going to keep this area over here at 21,700, and we didn't. We actually broke it. Let me just zoom in a bit further. Yeah, I know you see now too many lines. Let me just hide the EMAs so you can see this more clearly. So yeah, you see this area right over here that I told you is going to be a very strong area of support. It was around 21,600, but then we broke it because of all these news that were happening, and we just plummeted further. And then we have now problems with USDC that I'm going to talk about later on in the news part of the video, and we plummeted all the way to 19,500. And to be honest, if we continue the momentum, we will just go further down to this area again, which is going to be between 19,000 to whatever 16,000 or so. We don't know where we can stop when we reach. I guess the first stop would be this 19,000 area. But we're gonna see. Now, of course, same as for NASDAQ, if we have some miraculously good news, we're just gonna reverse from this area, retest the 21,600 again, just to reclaim it, and then move further to the upside to go retest 25,000. So this is the bullish scenario for Bitcoin if we have some good news. This area over here, let me just zoom in on a daily chart. As you can see, this area over here that I marked it was a previous support area. Now it's turned into resistance. We can't break it, and as you can see, we have these nice wicks, these 3 wicks. They're giving us some nice momentum, right? So if we continue going further up, we can easily retest 21,600, but I'm not sure. This can, of course, on any sign of bad news, just plummet down to below 19,000. Will the 19,000 be the area that's gonna hold it all? I don't know. I'm not sure, because as I've said, we need to monitor the macro environment. So I would strongly urge you this. Next week, trade on both Bitcoin and NASDAQ after we know the situation. Don't take any trades until these things clear out and until you see clearly what's gonna happen to the banks, to USDC, etc. So once you know all the details, only then start taking trades in any direction, because everything now, any technical analysis doesn't work now. That's why I don't want to focus too much on it, because it just simply in this kind of environment doesn't work. Macro news takes over, okay? So wait for the news, listen what they're gonna say, and then follow the trend. So if the news are bad, short Bitcoin. If the news are good, long it all the way to 25k, and as simple as that. Okay, now let me just show you the EMAs once again to zoom in backwards. On the weekly chart, of course, as I've told you already, we broke all the EMAs now, so we are literally now sitting below all the EMAs, and this big hidden bearish divergence that occurred on a weekly chart is still playing out, is still going, and we see where we're gonna end up. Now let's quickly zoom in just to see if there's any other signs from the indicators. So on a weekly chart, this big bearish divergence is played out. Now we do have, what I see here, we do have this hidden bullish divergence on a daily chart. But man, I mean, I've already said it. You can follow it, you can try maybe. I mean, the area to enter this hidden bullish divergence would be right over here, and to continue with the long side, okay? to long Bitcoin. But as I've said, it's just gambling. Wait for the news. Wait for the news. Do not enter without knowing facts. When you know the facts, then take any side that is winning. Basically, you always want to take the winning side. Okay. So on 4 hours chart, do we have anything? No, 4 hour chart does not give us any signals. And finally, 1 hour chart is giving us, well, not much. Basically, 1 hour give us this hidden bearish divergence right over here. Okay. Which I don't know if it's still playing out. Basically, what would this mean is that in this area over here on the 1 hour chart, it says that we're gonna not break this area, and then we're gonna have a pullback to the downside. You might as well short it after you hear the news. Now let's move on to the news, because actually that's the main part of this video, and I'm going to talk about quickly of the economic calendar. What do we have the next week? So next week on Monday we don't have nothing important. On Tuesday, core CPI and CPI report. I cannot stress this enough. If this is bad combined with all these news, oof, guys, we're gonna retest the new lows. So we're going down hard if the CPI report is bad. If the CPI report is good, together with some good news and bailout and whatever, we're gonna explode to the upside. Okay, so now it's going to be very volatile market, and you need to be very careful, otherwise you're gonna be blown out. Okay, don't risk everything. Go slowly, little by little. I suggest you to, if you're trading, I don't know, 10 contracts on NQ, lower it down. Okay, so lower down. If you're trading one contract, go half size, go micro or whatever. Just lower down your number of contracts traded, because you're gonna get blown out and caught in these big movements. Just avoid them. Okay, it is an opportunity to make money as well. Yes, if you know what you're doing and if your risk is very calculated, but most of the people unfortunately don't know what they're doing. So I would just suggest you to sit it out, listen to the news, and then react. So let's get back to the report. CPI, follow the CPI report. If the CPI is bad, together with the bad news from the government, I'm telling you, new lows are coming. Then we have on Wednesday core PPI report, and then we have on Thursday initial jobless claims. As always, Friday there is nothing much happening on Friday. So basically, Thursday initial jobless claims, then the PPI and core PPI report on Wednesday, and on Tuesday of course we have the CPI report. Now the week after that we're gonna have Fed interest rate decision, but I'm gonna talk about that next week, and I'm gonna talk about the expectations and once everything settles down from this week, because this week we're gonna know, are we continuing the bullish momentum, or are we gonna go and revisit new lows? This is going to be very clear from this week alone. And then of course the Fed will just confirm it or break it in the interest rate decision meeting. Now let's head to the news. So Yellen seeking solution for Silicon Valley Bank as industry frets about fallout. Now I just want to show you one sentence from here, which is the most important sentence. What she said. Let me be clear that during the financial crisis in 2008, there were investors and owners of systematic large banks that were bailed out, and the reforms that have been put in place means we're not going to do that again. So she literally said tonight, Sunday 12th of March, that they're not gonna bail out Silicon Valley Bank or any other bank, which means what? No free money, no free ride for the banks. Is that really going to happen? I don't know. Let's see. They might change their mind tomorrow. We're gonna see tomorrow, because the Fed has closed meeting tomorrow morning, I believe 11:40 or so, Central Eastern Time, and they're gonna see and assess the situation and see how they're gonna react. But what did she say? This is very bearish. They're like, okay, we're just gonna let it go down if no other big bank comes in and buys the Silicon Valley Bank. The problem with this is, if the Silicon Valley Bank gets bought by some other big bank like JP Morgan is the last one to buy them, as they said, because Diamond, he was saying that they don't need Silicon Valley Bank, maybe just for the potential customer reach, but that's arguable. Anyways, if the big bank buys Silicon Valley Bank, that means that everybody's going to lose trust in these medium to small regional banks, okay? And everybody will have no reason to stay with them, and they will just move their money to the big banks. And that means the collapse of all the mid and regional banks. Potential collapse, right? It's not a certain collapse. But this is very bad. Basically, you're gonna have a even bigger monopoly by a couple of big banks who are too big to fail, right? It doesn't represent a competitive or advanced society or competitive economic environment where all the venture capital, all the startup firms can compete with each other equally and everybody has a fair chance. No, it's going to be one huge monopoly dictated by the big banks that they're gonna say, okay, if you don't meet this and this conditions, that's it, you can't do anything. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I really hope for the positive outcome and I really hope for some rational solution. Probably by Monday somebody will buy out Silicon Valley Bank. I'm guessing, I don't know, but let's see. If they don't, if they just go bankrupt, I mean, that's going to be very, very bad for the investors. So many venture capital firms and small startups are actually with the Silicon Valley Bank, and that's why mid to smaller businesses are very shaken by this. People will lose jobs. It's going to be very bad for the mid and smaller capital firms and startups. And the decision and the reaction of the government that they're going to make in the next, I don't know, couple of days, it's going to be crucial for everything that is happening in the markets now. So pay close attention to that. Now, how did this affect crypto? Well, USDC depegged actually, and let's move on to the crypto news. So Circle plans to cover missing liquidity in Silicon Valley Bank with corporate funds. According Circle, USDC operations will resume as normal when banks open on Monday morning in the United States, enabling USDC redemption at 1-to-1 with the US dollar. Basically what happened, because USDC or Circle, they have I think $3-4 billion with the Silicon Valley Bank out of the 40 billion, okay? And everybody freaked out and started selling their USDC, and USDC actually depegged to I believe 0.80 something. A lot of people used it as an opportunity for literally like free money arbitrage, right? So we'll see how that will end. Me personally, my opinion is that USDC will not go down. I believe that they're backed fully with the amount that they say they are, and these $2-3 billion will be covered easily. So I really think that this was actually opportunity for buying of USDC. I personally didn't buy it, but maybe I should have, because it was literally free money, right? If the USDC comes back and pegs again to $1, some people are gonna make a lot of money. But again, same as last week and the week before that, crypto gets no break. There's only bad news piling up. Now, this is a stable coins war, okay? We're in the stable coins war. At the moment, the attention is not at Tether or BUSD, the attention is basically at USDC. So we're gonna see who's gonna survive, who's gonna remain as a winner. As I've said, I still believe in USDC. I believe they're gonna continue operations as normal. This is just going to be one small bump in the road. But now, how will the SEC use this as opportunity and how they will present it, I don't know. Let's see. They're gonna make up some case again and whatever, start suing everybody as they are doing until now. Again, let's wait for Monday. Let's wait for news, and we're going to see how this will develop. So that was all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and liked it. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing this analysis every single week. I'm going to keep you updated. Also follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Facebook. I'm absolutely everywhere, and I'm going to and over there I'm actually giving you on a daily basis live updates, so you can keep up with the market and see what I'm trading, what I'm doing, etc, etc. So be safe, take it slow this week. First listen to the news and then decide your trading path. And I hope you make some money this week. That was all for today, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!